just a little thing that might or might not have slipped the common notice as it relates to the ball club. But Isiah Kiner-Falefa is going to be your everyday shortstop. For real, good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. I'm not knocking the guy. This is a total pro, not to mention a terrific dude. On the character scale, I don't know that they could have done a whole lot better than adding IKF to what it is that they do in general. IKF, that said, is a super utility guy. He's a guy that had been utilized by his previous employers, by the Yankees, by the Blue Jays, as a Mr. Everything sort. Some second base, some center field, some third base, can do it all. One of the things on that list, one of them, was shortstop. And it's not one of the ones that he's done the most frequently. But he comes to Pittsburgh. The decision is made, coincidentally or not, to have O'Neill Cruz move permanently to center field. That was the way it was phrased at the time. That was the way it was acted upon, and there's been zero change since then. We're proceeding, as Derek Shelton said at the time, as if O'Neill is our starting center fielder. Now, O'Neill, in his own various trials and tribulations, can make multiple episodes unto themselves. It's not what this is about. O'Neill has moved to center field. Now, with that, O'Neill took his various headaches at short, but he also took his offensive production. And all of those things that Ben Cherington had stated beforehand that they really valued about having O'Neill at short, meaning that you could have somebody with that kind of power and that kind of production at a position that doesn't normally afford that. All of that went out there. Okay, great, wonderful. Again, separate episodes. But now, IKF is your everyday shortstop. And although he had the crazy offensive tear before the Pirates acquired him last year, he ended up hitting .240 in his 50 games with the Pirates, 52 points lower than he'd hit in Toronto. And that, of course, being either the Pirates / Andy Haynes effect, whatever you want to label that. Everybody just hits worse when they come to the Pirates. And he also was a .567 OPS guy, while that is actually in line with the power that he's shown over the years. 10 doubles, a triple, and 2 homers. He's it. He's it. And that's my only real point here. It is not to diminish him. It's not to devalue him for whatever reason. It's to say that he's it. He's the shortstop. And I don't know that from an offensive or defensive standpoint, that if you are to fancy yourself a playoff contender, and I'm going to keep saying this, they'd better be that in year 6, that this can be your everyday shortstop, unless, of course, the rest of your grid is just overflowing with power and production, which, of course, it's not. It's not. Now, if you heard, maybe you did, anyone at all associated with the Pirates at any stage of anything say, yeah, we might still be looking for some help at shortstop, then you've got one up on me because I haven't. They feel like they've found their shortstop, certainly for the 2025 season. So as we do that little exercise that we do quite a bit on this show, where we go just around the diamond, start catcher, first base, second base, third base, short, whatever, and keep going. We just say, yep, shortstop. Yeah, they got a shortstop. Yeah. But do they? Okay, find me the rest of it. Work with me. Joey Bart, we all like, right? Cool. First base, Spencer Horwitz. Some production, not so much power. Second base, we kind of like Nick Gonzalez, don't we? I do. I do. Don't leave me in the minority on that one. I like Nick Gonzalez. But I'm also not seeing even really 250 as an average. I'm not seeing some barrage of home runs. Third base, Brian Hayes, we just have no clue. Because of the back issue, until we see that that's fine and until we see that he can hit the ball solidly with some launch angle consistently, we have no clue. Then comes IKF. Then to the outfield, you've got Brian Reynolds, you've got Cruz, and you've got Mystery Man. And there, that little exercise, it does it every single time, doesn't it? You just see that and go, oh, yeah, all right, well, they'd better pitch well. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Andrew, who, in reference to more than one discussion for some reason we've had this week about Adam LaRoche, says, what's crazy, DK, is that the season total figures for LaRoche when he was in Pittsburgh are basically just Brian Reynolds numbers, right? So is B-Ray not as good as we think, or LaRoche was better than we thought? The first thing that comes to mind, honestly, for me here is that 280, just the batting average, and the way we look at it is so different now than even 10, 12, 15 years ago. Am I right? Hitting's just fallen off. We know that. There's numbers to support that. But LaRoche might have been a little ahead of his time. He struck out a fair amount, didn't seem bothered by it. Actually, he didn't seem bothered by anything. And he had the power and he had the walk. So the whole all or nothing approach to hitting, yeah, maybe he was a little bit ahead of his time. But someone who was hitting 280 back then, if we're being real here, is probably a 260 or even a 255 guy now, without getting super intense on the math. But here's something to think about, since we're on this big LaRoche kick this week. This past weekend, football staff at DK Pittsburgh Sports and we were all piled into the same vehicle going back and forth to Baltimore. One of the things that we did to amuse ourselves on the drive was to plot out quarter-century teams for all three of Pittsburgh's teams. What the quarter-century team is, if you don't know, is the NHL is doing something where for every franchise, they're announcing, the individual teams are, but also the National Hockey League, the quarter-century team for each of the 32 franchises, meaning the 6 best guys over the first 25 years of this century. So we went through the Penguins first, which had already been announced, to see what we thought of that. We did the Steelers, obviously in a different format because you got to have somebody at each of the 22 spots. And then we went to baseball. I can save the whole list for you or some other show, but we got to first base. And first base was not easy. At the beginning of this century was the end, really, of Kevin Young's terrific career. And his best years, I'm sure KY would tell you himself, were in the 90s. So then we kept going with a whole bunch of first basemen from then to now and all points in between. And we're even leaving discussion room for Pedro Alvarez and Josh Bell, who we thought was going to be the guy for a while, even though I think we can all agree that JB operated with some flaws in his tenure here. And then I think we were done, and we were like, yeah, it's JB. And whoa, hang on a second. What about Adam LaRoche? So you always have that one person who's responsible for doing the instant research on the phone, and that shows up. Oh, look at LaRoche. Maybe it's him. Maybe LaRoche was the Pirates' best first baseman of the first quarter century of the 2000s. Oh, go right ahead and challenge it. go nuts. I'm all ears. If you can do better than that, but bring something here. Bring some facts. I'm not at all adverse to talking about LaRoche again tomorrow. I appreciate you guys. Let's do it again.